Now on to CVs. Let's do some audience participation. Yay. What's the point of a CV? Just shout it out. Don't. To get you an interview. Okay. So to show what you've achieved in the past. Anything else?
Summarize your skills for potential.
So summarize your skills. Anything else? Suitability for the job. So we've got whether you're suitable for the job, whether you've got the skills, whether you've got the experience, and all of that in order to get yourself an interview. And why do the first three lead to the last one? What's the link? If I know that or I get the impression that you're suitable for the job, that you have the skills and the experience, why would I want to invite you in for interview? What am I telling you if I invite you in for interview?
You might not. The minimum that you can do, you've got the skills to do the job.
So you've got the minimum required to do the job, that you are what you say you are. They're interested in meeting you. All of these are right, but there's missing the grander point, which is that what you're trying to do is to give somebody confidence in you. And confidence in you, when you're not in a direct position to be able to demonstrate your ability to do the job, requires you to give some sort of evidence. And unfortunately, a lot of employers will use what I like to call imposter evidence, such as which university you went to, what grade you got, generally your academic achievements, how much experience you have in some relevant roles. All of these are imposter evidence. They're close to being evidence, but they're not quite. For example, I have a first-class degree in philosophy. What does that tell you about me? Anything.
You can write an essay.
Can write an essay? Yeah. Excellent.
Meet deadlines.
Can meet deadlines? I didn't, but yeah. Anything else?
You can do all the necessary research required
For
what it is you need to write up.
Specifically in the region of philosophy, yes. It tells you lots of things that give you it. Sorry, yeah.
I'm interested to hear that people would care about education. Is that for this country thing?
People will filter CVs based on whether
Even
you.
if it's 10 years old?
Oh yeah.
But what would they know about any universities outside of this country?
Okay. The point is, you guys are applying for entry-level positions, so you're going back to the beginning.
So would they care about makers and not what I've done?
No, but they will look at because you're applying for an entry-level position, they will automatically compare you to somebody who's just left university, because their brains are set up towards this idea. But then, I mean, education is an easy example of imposter evidence. Imposter evidence covers a whole load of stuff, which is why you'll see that I frame this CV, the CV that I'm recommending that you write, is what's known as a functional CV, where you talk about the things that you can do rather than the things that you have done. So yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, I saw an advert on Freebird, which is for junior, and only wrote applications for one of the top 10 universities, which was quite interesting. Well, for it's so stuffy, it was like, well, only applications for the top 10 universities.
In this country?
Yeah.
This country. Yeah,
Why does anybody care about any of
the top 10 universities? Which ranking?
It's completely subjective, isn't it?
There's a number of reasons why they do it. It depends if you go for a big company who've got a HR department. They might get, as you said, you did 30,000 applications. They need some way to get you out. And Leo said earlier about the Labour government said we want everyone to have a degree. What they did there was just change what used to be called polytechnics in this country to change them into universities. So some companies go like the one a red brick university, which is the original universities. But they have a list, like in this country, we know it's kind of your Oxbridge, then depending on what your degree is in, some universities are better. Everyone's heard of Yale, MIT. These are the ones that we consider top 10. But it's just a way of filtering people.
Which is ridiculous, and that's the difficulty is you find this situation where small businesses will model their recruitment processes on big businesses. Big businesses have the problem of volume, small businesses don't. So small businesses are filtering in the same way as companies that get 30,000 applications for 300 jobs, which is silly.
Where does that leave people who didn't go?
Well, you just graduated Makers Academy, so it doesn't matter. So this is the point. What I'm not asking you to do is to go through and, oh, I've lost it. Is to go through and write, I did this job, I did this job, I did this job, and I got this education, I got this education. Yes, putting education at the bottom is important because it gives people an understanding of the things that you've studied. But that's all it is. It's just an understanding of the things that you've studied. The point of this kind of CV, this functional CV, is that you write your skills and then you write down all of the things that should lead me to believe that you actually have that skill. And it's really, really straightforward. A functional CV is specifically very, very good for people who are transferring from one career to another. Because if you have come from another career, a lot of your experience may well be relevant to the thing that you're doing. But if you write down this job that I did as a sales manager, this job that I did as a sales manager, this job that I did as a sales manager, and you go and apply for a job as a software developer, everyone will go, you don't know what you're talking about, you can't do it. So you don't write that, you write all of these skills that I have that are relevant to software development, and here are all of the various different places that I learned those skills, and as you'll see down here, here is evidence that I have actually done that. You know, I achieved this thing, this actual result, which actually happened in the real world, which demonstrates my previous ability to do the thing that I'm saying that I can do. So that's down the bottom here. So you write the name of the skill, whatever you want to call it, use buzzwords if you want. The descriptive paragraph of how capable you are at that skill. And it's nice if you can add some flavor in there. Don't worry, this is by the way, the whole point of this being a repo here is that you fork it and update it with your information.
So we have pretty big.
No, because this is not about when it happened. It's not about the chronology of things. It's about, here's a thing that I'm good at, and here is why you should believe me. So, the skills. You write the skill, you write the descriptive paragraph of how you exhibit that skill. Don't worry, I'm going to come into some examples in a minute. You then list the experience that you've had that gives me confidence in your ability to do that skill, the achievements, and any other evidence. Particularly because this is a GitHub CV, online evidence. Is there examples of your work online? Is there examples of you exhibiting these skills online? No. Then in the education section, you'll notice the order in which I've written things for Makers Academy. People are quite tempted just to write a bullet list of all of the tech that they've learned. Don't do that because it gets boring. They've written the soft skills at the top, kind of the methodologies and approaches in the middle, and the tech at the bottom, because the tech is the least important bit. Your ability to develop software, all the stuff that Leo was talking about at the beginning, the stuff that makes you unique, that's the interesting bit. And then anything about your university and other qualifications, if you want to include it. You don't have to include it. If you did a degree in flower arranging 15 years ago and you don't think it's relevant or interesting, don't put it on there. Just leave it out. Yeah.
Is it okay not to put dates on?
Yeah. The thing for me for not putting dates for education is that it will just raise a red flag in people's heads. You might as well put the date and have the conversation about the date, rather than if you don't put the date, people just go, why haven't they put the date? That's really weird.
It's a bit the same for grades, actually. Some companies who are quite, some companies have already told me in the past that if you've already put that you have a degree, then put what mark you came up with, as in if it's a first, a second, and a third. Like, it's a bit the same thing. It's like you know, if you're showing that and you don't put that it's a first or a second, then they'll assume you got a 2-2. That's kind of the logic.
It depends. Like in Spain, nobody puts these things. I don't even know what's, if I'm 1-1 to 2, I don't even know what does this mean. So I do not know how to calculate, but it's my.
So there are websites that show the equivalence. They're all linked and everything. The point being is that you put the information down that you think is relevant.
Yeah. And if you went to a Spanish university, then anyway they don't know, so they'll understand that you don't have the equivalent of a UK university, so it's okay. But if you've been like me, if I've been at Bath University and I decide to put it on my CV because I think it's relevant and I want them to know, well then I might as well tell them what grade I had.
But there's still not degrees that is so important here. Like, see it in my degree, the people with best grades ever have not done anything. The ones that who were the worst in my class, they are super business, they are worldwide.
Here's another way of looking at it. If you think about what did you learn during your degree that will help you be a good software developer? Because if there is an answer to that, then include it in the list of skills. You know, I developed this skill. One of the reasons why I developed this skill is because I learned it at university doing this course. And then you don't need to put your university at the end.
No, I mean, I want to do it, but for me it's exactly the same problem. I would have thought that in the tech industry, they would not care about this. If you have one, 2, or whatever, they care on your skills, not on others. These things that don't tell absolutely anything. To me, a person that has one, okay, good for you, but that doesn't mean that you're going to do a good job.
Yeah. So don't include it. If you don't think it says anything, then don't include it.
That's exactly the thing, and that's why you could even not include your degree if you don't think it's even relevant.
No, I think
There are more interesting stuff you've done in your life and 15 years worth of experience than maybe putting your degree is irrelevant, and that's your decision.
Relevant.
Well, then why?
It's
Because
not
if
relevant if it was the best university in Spain, then maybe it is, but I don't think that's relevant because it could have gone to the worst university in Spain and be the best one for the job. I don't know.
That's what I find something just a problem with the whole system.
Yeah. So yeah, and this is the stuff that we're trying to bypass. And this is the thing that I will say over and over again to you is it is as much your responsibility to make sure that the hiring process runs well and efficiently as it is the person who's trying to hire you. You have to assume that the person who's trying to hire you is not the best recruiter in the world. They're not really good at it. You have to take a certain amount of responsibility for the whole process going well, which means you have to approach this from the point of view of what's wrong with the existing system and how do I fix it? How do I create a CV that actually manages to convey the reason why I'm good and should be considered for this job, rather than following the standard model, which precisely as you say, doesn't actually work. So a last thing before I move on to very quickly onto the example is the kind of your personal profile at the beginning. It's 3 sentences. The first sentence is about you, like kind of who and what you are. The second sentence is about what you've achieved, and the third sentence is about what you want, specifically what you would ideally be doing with whom and in what environment. You don't have to write it like this. You don't have to do any of the things that I'm telling you. You don't have to do it at all. But this is a really good start. And if you start with that, you might find actually that it doesn't fit. It's not really you. That's not really the way you want to describe yourself. Number 1 rule in a CV for me is make sure that it's you writing it, that it comes across as it's you. It's actually a thing that's written by a human being to be read by a human being. And it's not just a list of bloody keywords, but it is actually a communication from one human being to another. So I'll give you my example, which is me. I have injected some humor into mine because I want to work with people who have a sense of humor. If somebody reads this and goes, oh, but he's being really frivolous, well, I don't want to work with them. Because it's also my responsibility to work out who I want to work with. I've then gone on to talk about the stuff that I care about, the things that I've done, and then the forward-looking, the final sentence about anchoring my specialism and finding an organization that I can add exceptional value to long-term. What's wrong with this paragraph? I'm hoping it's not a grammatical or punctuation error, because that would be embarrassing. This one. What's wrong with this paragraph?
Bearded things?
Nope.
No, I'm just saying if it's the bearded paragraph. Long.
The fact that it suggests that you haven't found your value and your goal yet.
Yes, there is something of that in there, but mainly it's the last sentence. The last sentence sounds like it says a lot, but it doesn't.
Short.
It's just bollocks. I'd like to anchor my specialism. The fuck does that mean? Like seriously, what does it actually mean? But it sounds like it means something. And I'd like to find an organization that I can add exceptional value to long term. If I didn't want to do that, nobody would want to hire me. It's just fluff. It's absolute bollocks. Avoid the fluff. It's really, really tempting to write it because it's sort of a rough general expression of the thing that you sort of mean. Don't really go back and look at your stuff and go, actually, does that mean anything? Does it mean anything? No, it doesn't. So here, public speaking, I've used this thing. I've got links that actually go places. Then this is a bit of a joke, to be honest. I obviously wouldn't put that in a real CV. But the point being here, you know, I've got a little bit creative. I've actually used code formatting because it's a GitHub CV, and we all know about GitHub Markdown and all that sort of stuff. So it's, you know, use this medium to express yourself. The reason why we use a GitHub CV, by the way, is actually a Makers Academy graduate started doing it, and we all went, oh, that's a great idea. So this is the thing that employers will see first when they come to us looking for people. When you say, oh, I'm interested in working for so-and-so, this is the thing they'll see first. And you should use it for your applications that you go off and do by yourself. If you do that, is use this, because it's a hyperlinked CV that is in the same place as all your code is, which is the stuff you want people looking at. It shows that you have a commitment to code, you're obsessed about code, et cetera, et cetera. The recruitment one, I haven't included like a descriptive paragraph at the top because I was trying to show you guys that, you know, you don't have to rigidly follow the format that I'm suggesting. This is just 3 bullet points of reasons why I'm good at recruitment, things that I've done previously. And then the reason why I've listed my university is because I specialize in the philosophy of math and language, which is relevant to coding, should that be the kind of job that I was looking for. But I don't have to put it. It's not actually massively relevant. It just means that I have an interesting grounding in logic and so on, but, you know, back in 2010, so not necessarily hugely relevant. So the idea of this is that I've done most of the work for you. That's not true at all. I've done some of the work. I have scaffolded a CV for you. So off you go. Obviously, any questions? It's Makers Academy /CV, GitHub/Makers Academy.
It's not really coming up.
Is there not? Oh,
I've gone back to Makers Academy. From there where you've got this.